I pushed the bedroom door open slowly, the sound of the hinges lost under the music. Ryan's voice came clearer now, low and smug. "Told you," he said, his words dripping with pride, "I could make you forget all about him." Claire laughed, that same soft, breathless laugh I used to live for. "Stop," she said, still laughing. "You're such an idiot." "An idiot who knows what he's doing," Ryan replied. My stomach turned. My heart felt like it was trying to tear through my ribs. Every step forward felt unreal, like I was watching someone else move through a nightmare. They were tangled in the sheets, both of them. Claire's hair was spread across my pillow. Ryan's hand was on her hip. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Then Ryan looked up, froze. His face went from cocky to terrified in an instant. "Finn," he started, but I cut him off. "Don't," I said quietly. My voice didn't even sound like mine. It was calm, steady, too calm. "Don't you dare say my name." Claire scrambled up, clutching the sheet to her chest. "Finn, please." "Save it," I said. "Both of you. Don't even try." Ryan swung his legs off the bed, standing there in nothing but guilt and arrogance. "It just happened," he said. "We didn't mean for—" I laughed once, short and hollow. "You didn't mean for me to find out, you mean?" Claire started crying. "It's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," I said. "My brother. My fiancée. My bed." Ryan stepped closer, hands out like he could reason with me. "Look, man, Don't," I said again, backing away. "You open your mouth one more time and I'll forget we share blood." He stopped then, his jaw tight. "At least I can keep a woman satisfied," he muttered, his eyes hard. The words hit like a punch. I stared at him, the image of everything I'd built, the business, the house, the wedding, collapsing in that 1 second. I didn't say another word. I just turned, walked out, and shut the door behind me. I don't remember getting to my truck. I don't remember driving. I just remember the ringing in my ears, the sound of Claire's laugh echoing, and the taste of metal in my mouth from clenching my teeth too hard. That night I didn't sleep. The next morning I walked into the office, logged into our business account, and transferred every cent of my share, $340,000, into my own name. "Let's see who's laughing now," I said to myself. There they were, tangled up on the bed we had chosen together at IKEA, the mattress firmness we debated for 2 hours now beneath them, and the sheets, a wedding gift from Aunt Linda, clinging around their bodies. Ryan saw me first. For a split second, his eyes widened in what looked like surprise. Then that smirk I'll never forget spread across his face. That little half-smile like he'd won something. Claire scrambled, wrapping the sheet around herself, tears already streaking her face. "Finn, I can explain." "Explain what?" I said, my voice eerily calm, flat, like I was describing a misaligned engine to a client instead of watching my entire life implode. "Explain why my brother is in our bed. Explain why you lied about working late." Ryan just leaned back against the headboard, smug as ever. "Come on, man," he said. "Don't make this into some big dramatic thing." "Some big dramatic thing?" I asked, voice rising despite myself. "You're sleeping with my fiancée in the bed I bought. That's not dramatic enough." He shrugged, slow, deliberate. "Not my fault you couldn't keep her satisfied. At least I can keep a woman happy." That was it. Something inside me cracked. I lunged. My hands were on him, ready to beat him senseless, until Claire screamed and threw herself between us. "Stop. Finn, stop," she cried. Ryan scrambled off the bed naked, grabbed his clothes, practically ran down the stairs. I followed, heart hammering. Claire stayed behind, wrapped in the sheet, sobbing, begging me to calm down and let her explain. Ryan made it to his BMW. I expected him to drive off, but he rolled down the window and delivered the last blow. "You know the best part?" he said, voice mocking. "This isn't the first time. Been going on for 6 months. She didn't tell you." Claire's sobbing behind me was confirmation enough. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Planning our wedding while sleeping with my brother. All those late-night work, emergencies, coffee meetings to help Ryan with his relationship problems. I went back inside, locked the door, and called Jake, my buddy from the Marine Corps Reserves who had become our business attorney after law school. "It's 10 p.m., Finn," Jake said groggily. "Why are you calling?" "I need to pull all my assets out of the family business tonight," I said, voice cold. "Sleep on it. Don't make decisions while you're emotional," he said. Standard lawyer advice. "You'd understand if you saw what just happened," I replied. There was a long pause. "I'll have the paperwork ready in an hour. Come to my office." Claire spent the night elsewhere. I didn't ask where. Didn't care. I sat in the living room surrounded by wedding planning boxes, seating charts, centerpieces, menus, and went through every detail of our business finances in my head. Every account, every password, every client and vendor contact ran through me. The business checking account had $340,000. Payroll for 40 employees, vendor payments, operational costs for the next 60 days, all sitting there. Under the operating agreement I drafted with Jake when I bought out Dad's shares, I had full discretionary authority over business finances as managing partner. I could move money, pay vendors, make purchases, anything but dissolve the business or sell major assets. By midnight, the paperwork was drawn up. By 2 a.m., every penny of that $340,000 was in a personal account I'd opened that night at a different bank. By 10 a.m., I opened a new business account at Chase and moved the money there. Left a simple note, withdrawn by managing partner by 6 a.m. I drafted my resignation as managing partner, effective immediately, suspended all vendor accounts pending review, and locked everyone out of the management software by changing the master password. Changed every password, email, accounting, scheduling, customer database, everything. Then I went to the flagship Oakland location, the one I'd spent 12 years building from a struggling 2-bay garage, and waited. Dad arrived first, around 7:30 a.m. technically retired, but he kept an office at the shop, came in for coffee, chatting with old-timer mechanics who remembered him from the early days. He saw me sitting there and smiled. "You're here early," he said. I just nodded, the calm in my chest masking the storm of betrayal, anger, and resolve that had driven me through the night. "Everything okay?" Dad asked, looking at me, concern etched on his face. "No, Dad. Everything's not okay," I said, voice tight. I told him exactly what I'd walked in on yesterday, how Ryan had smirked like he'd won something, how Claire had cried, how my brother had the audacity to blame me for not satisfying her. Dad's face shifted through confusion, horror, and then something strange, defensiveness. "Now, son, I'm sure there's an explanation," he said. "The explanation," I said, keeping my tone cold, "is that my brother's been sleeping with my fiancée for 6 months. And when I caught them yesterday, he told me it was my fault for not satisfying her." Dad shifted uncomfortably in his chair. That's bad. But you know how Ryan is. He makes poor decisions sometimes. He's young. He'll grow out of it. You can't just what?" I said, voice rising. "I got a notification about the business account. My phone dinged at 2 a.m. Did you really move all our operating capital?" "My operating capital?" "The money I earned running this business while Ryan showed up whenever he felt like it." Dad opened his mouth, then closed it. You can't do that. We have payroll on Friday. Vendor payments due. That big parts order coming in, already paid for." I cut him off. "Then I guess Ryan better figure out how to run the business, since he's so talented and makes such good decisions." Mom arrived around 8 a.m., Ryan trailing behind, looking guilty but trying not to show it. Clearly he'd spun some story to them last night. They walked in, serious faces, unified front. "Finn, we need to talk about this situation," Mom said, using her reasonable parent voice. "Which situation?" I asked. "The one where your son betrayed me in the worst possible way, or the one where I took back my money from a business I built?" Ryan looked annoyed instead of ashamed. "Dude, you can't just steal from the business because you're mad at me." "Steal?" I said, voice low, almost shaking. "I built this business from nothing. You've been along for the ride, collecting paychecks for showing up 3 days a week. We're equal partners? You own 15%. I own 60%. We are not equal. We've never been equal." Dad tried his calm, reasonable voice, the one he'd used when I was a kid to avoid conflict. "Son, you're angry. You have every right. What Ryan did was wrong." "Was it though?" Ryan cut in, a flash of pride in his eyes. "If someone's fiancée is sleeping with someone else, maybe the problem isn't the other guy. Maybe she was unhappy with what she was getting at home." Mom gasped. "Ryan, that's not helpful right now." "But Dad," and this broke me, Dad almost smiled for a second. "I saw it." Like Ryan had made a point he agreed with but couldn't say out loud. "You think this is funny?" I asked, staring at him. "No, of course not," he said weakly. "But Ryan has a point. If Claire was unhappy..." Ryan sneered at me. "You can't kick us out. We're part owners of the business." "Part of the business, not the buildings," I said, voice hard. "I own the buildings, all 5 of them. Bought them personally over the years to protect the business from liability. Check the deeds if you don't believe me." Color drained from Dad's face. He'd never cared about that paperwork detail, that had always been mine. Mom softened, voice manipulative. Honey, I know you're hurt. But you're talking about destroying everything your father built. Everything I built? I said. Dad ran this place into the ground. I saved it, expanded it, made this business worth something. And you're all defending the person who betrayed me because he's the baby? He's your favorite? It's not about favorites, Dad said, voice weak. It's always been about favorites, I said, eyes burning. I worked myself to death for this family. Gave up college, gave up Berkeley, gave up any normal life. Built this business while Ryan partied through community college and quit after 2 semesters. And the one thing I had that was mine, you're defending the person who took it from me? Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smirked again. That's hilarious. Claire just texted me, said, you locked her out of the house and she needs her stuff. Something inside me snapped. Tell her to get a lawyer. She's not getting a thing until we settle this legally. That's her house too, Mom said, voice breaking. No, it's my house, I said. It's in my name. She moved in after I bought it. Legally, she's a tenant, and I'm evicting her for cause. Jake had been very clear during our 2 a.m. conversation. California tenant law was on my side. Mom started crying. You're being cruel to that poor girl. I'm being cruel? I asked, voice cold. Your son destroyed my life, and you're worried about Claire's living situation? By 8:30, employees began arriving. They could feel the tension, see the owners arguing. The air was thick, almost tangible. I called a meeting in the shop bay. All mechanics and service advisors gather around, I said, voice loud and steady. I'm stepping down as managing partner effective immediately. Ryan will take over operations. I've transferred my equity to a separate account pending dissolution of our partnership agreement. Anyone who wants to leave, I'll write recommendations and won't contest unemployment. Anyone who wants to stay, good luck. I watched faces of mechanics who'd worked with me over a decade process the news. These were the men I'd hired, trained, promoted. They knew Ryan. They knew what kind of manager he'd be. 3 of my best techs quit immediately, Tommy with 9 years, Carlos, 8. I could feel their disappointment and frustration mirrored in every fiber of my being. The office was silent for a moment, tension so thick it was suffocating. And I realized for the first time that day the scale of what I had just unleashed. They peeled off their uniforms and walked out like it was the most natural thing in the world. Even Mike, Dad's original hire from 2003, shrugged off his coveralls, handed them to me and walked out the door without a word. 2 more guys came up asking for recommendations. David, our service manager who I'd promoted 3 years ago, said he'd stick around for 2 weeks to train his replacement and then he was gone. Ryan went pale watching it all. You can't poach our employees, he said, voice tight. I'm not poaching anyone, I said. I'm letting them make informed decisions about their careers. You're in charge now. Show them what kind of leader you are. By noon, the business phone was ringing off the hook. Vendors demanding to know why their accounts had been suspended. Customers calling about appointments that still showed in the system but that no one could access. The fleet account, the food delivery contract worth $200,000 a year, called asking why their direct contact wasn't answering his cell. Ryan tried to take the calls. Watching him scramble was almost satisfying. He didn't know vendor account numbers, didn't understand our pricing, couldn't explain why scheduled appointments weren't appearing. It was almost satisfying but mostly just sad. Dad pulled me aside around 1 p.m., face gray and exhausted. Please just put the money back, he begged. We can work through this as a family. You laughed at what Ryan said last night, I said. You actually smiled when he blamed me for this. He stopped, caught. I was uncomfortable, he said. That's just how I react sometimes when I don't know what to say. You weren't uncomfortable, I said. You agreed with him. Your favorite son can do no wrong, even when he's sleeping with my fiancée and mocking me about it. That's not fair. We love you both equally, Dad said weakly. You know what's not fair? I snapped. Working 70-hour weeks for 12 years while you give Ryan credit for my accomplishments. Showing up isn't enough. The real explosion came that evening. At 6 p.m., I found out they'd gathered at my parents' house in the Oakland Hills without inviting me because Jake got a call at 5:30 from their attorney, Richard Kowalski. I drove over, uninvited, and walked into the living room to find them all seated with Kowalski, a man in a cheap suit who immediately tried to establish dominance. Mr. Barrett, he began, pulling out a folder. You've engaged in serious financial misconduct. You're the managing partner with full discretionary authority, I said calmly. Everything I did was legal under our operating agreement. Kowalski glanced at his notes, clearly not having seen the full agreement. Mom jumped up. voice trembling with that performative emotion she always turned on when it suited her. You're destroying your father's legacy over a mistake. Ryan made a mistake. I am Dad's legacy. I'm the only reason there's anything left to destroy. Bay Area Auto Repair would have died in 2010 if I hadn't taken over. Ryan lounged on the couch like this was an inconvenience he'd inherited rather than a crisis he'd caused. Whatever, man, he said with that insolent tone. Keep the money if it makes you feel better. We don't need you. I can run this business fine without your uptight micromanaging, underscore. We'll probably do even better without you breathing down everyone's neck. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You can't even handle customer phone calls without making them angry, I said. You think you're going to manage 5 locations, 40 employees, and millions in revenue? I'm better with people than you are. You're too rigid, too focused on the details. I see the big picture. You slept with my fiancée, Mom blurted. She came on to me first, Ryan shot back. Claire, who'd been hiding in the kitchen, came out then, mascara streaked, looking like death warmed over. That's not true, Claire cried. You pursued me, Ryan. Ryan's face twisted. Are you seriously going to? He started, then faltered. You told me Finn didn't appreciate me, Claire said, voice shaking. You said he was married to his work. You said you'd treat me better. Show me what it was like to be with someone who made time for me. And I did treat you better. For 6 months you seemed pretty happy with the arrangement. You used me to get back at your brother. You used me because you were bored and wanted attention. I almost wanted to grab popcorn. The whole thing had become surreal. Dad found his voice then, the one that usually tried to smooth things over. Both of you stop. This is family business. We need to handle this internally. No, I said. This is exactly what needs to happen. Everyone gets to see exactly who Ryan is. Who all of you are. Mom's crying got louder, the theatrical sobbing that always came out when she wanted sympathy. How did we get here? She wailed. How did our family fall apart like this? It fell apart when you decided one son was worth more than the other, I said. When you let Ryan coast while I did all the work. When you sided with him after he betrayed me in the worst possible way a brother can. Kowalski cleared his throat. Perhaps we should focus on the financial matter at hand. Mr. Barrett, he said, flipping his folder open. My clients are prepared to buy out your shares at fair market value. Fair market value? I scoffed. What's fair market value for a business I built from nothing? I flipped through the numbers in my head. Our annual revenue is $2.3 million with a 32% profit margin. We own equipment worth $300,000 conservatively. The real estate alone is worth $1.8 million. A legitimate valuation would put my 60% stake somewhere north of $2 million, probably closer to $2.5 million. Kowalski frowned, realizing they'd lowballed me. We have an assessor who valued your 60% stake at approximately $800,000, he said, checking his notes. I laughed out loud. Try again. Furthermore, I continued, I own the buildings. All 5 locations are my personal property purchased separately over the years. The business leases from me at below market rates because I wanted to keep overhead low. Dad's face went white. You want to buy me out? I said. Fine. But new lease rates are market standard. That's about $40,000 a month across 5 locations. Current rent is $12,000 monthly total. You can't do that, Dad said, voice small. I can, I said. Check the deeds. We'll move the business. Please, Finn, come back, Dad pleaded. We'll give you whatever you want. Full control, bigger ownership stake. We'll buy out Ryan's shares. I shook my head. I don't need anything from you. I've got my own business now. It's doing great. But we're family, Mom said. You chose which family member mattered when Ryan betrayed me. Dad smiled about it. Not laughed. Smiled. As if Ryan somehow made this my fault. I hung up. Claire kept trying to reach me too. Long emails about how sorry she was, how she'd made a terrible mistake, how Ryan had manipulated her and she could see that now, how she wanted to rebuild trust through therapy. I didn't respond. My attorney handled everything. The house situation played out exactly like Jake predicted. Because we weren't married and it was solely in my name, I had all the leverage. Claire had moved in after I bought it, never contributed to the mortgage or property taxes, never on any paperwork. Legally she was a tenant. She moved out within 30 days, forfeited any claim, and signed a separation agreement that settled everything financially. House was mine, free and clear. The wedding was obviously canceled. Deposits totaling $15,000. Venue, catering, photographer, DJ, florist, I let her have them. Didn't care anymore. Just wanted it over. Here's the thing nobody tells you about revenge, I thought. It's not as satisfying as the movies make it seem. Yeah, watching my family's business struggle initially felt good. Seeing Ryan fail at the one thing I made look easy felt vindicating. Knowing my parents were finally seeing the real difference between us was validating in a way. But it didn't fix the hole in my chest where my family used to be. Didn't make me trust people again. Didn't erase the image of my brother and my fiancée in my bed, laughing at me. 6 months later, I'm doing well financially. Business growing steadily. 12 employees across 2 locations. Opened the second shop in Fremont last month. On track to hit $1.2 million in revenue our first year. Incredible for a startup. Of the $340,000 I pulled out, $200,000 went to Barrett Automotive, $140,000 in index funds and real estate. My financial advisor says I'm in better shape at 34 than most people twice my age. But I'm alone. 80-hour weeks because what else am I going to do? Go home to an empty house and think about what I lost. House perfect, quiet, like a museum of the life I was supposed to have. JT keeps telling me to start dating again. Says I can't let what happened destroy my ability to trust people. Easy for him to say, his brother didn't sleep with his fiancée. Family situation is permanent wreckage. Bay Area Auto Repair emerged from bankruptcy last month with a reorganization plan. Sell the profitable Oakland location to pay creditors, close the other 4. Ryan's now a service advisor at a Toyota dealership, $45,000 plus commission. Bitter. Calls me drunk to tell me I destroyed his life. Blocked him after the 3rd time. Dad's health deteriorated. Stress triggered another minor cardiac episode in March. Finally fully retired. Mom blames me. Says I put the final nail in their marriage. Claire's engaged again, some guy from her nonprofit. Part of me wonders if she cheated on him too, or if I was the exception. Doesn't really matter. Only family member I still talk to is Aunt Linda, Dad's sister. She reached out 2 months ago, said I did the right thing, that Dad and Mom spoiled Ryan and someone needed to teach him consequences. Coming from a 65-year-old who knew my dad her whole life, that meant something. Last week, Ryan showed up at my San Leandro shop. Beat up Civic in the lot, had to sell the BMW months ago. I almost had David call security, but curiosity got the better of me. He looked terrible. Thin, older, tired, circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in months. Asked if we could talk in private. We sat in my office that I'd built, name on the wall, business license framed. He stared at everything, then said after a long silence, "If get up, asterisk." Everything I said. He didn't respond right away. Finally, I could hear it in his voice, quiet, ashamed. "I know that now. I was jealous of you my whole life. You were the smart one, responsible, the one Dad was proud of. I thought if I could take something from you, something you really cared about, it would make me feel better. Make me feel like I'd won something for once." "Did it?" I asked, voice steady. "For like 5 minutes," he said. "Then I realized I destroyed everything. Business gone. Dad won't talk to me. Mom cries when she sees me. I'm working at a dealership, barely covering rent on a shitty apartment." He looked around the office, taking in the framed photos of me with employees at our grand opening, the awards we'd won, plans for the 3rd location pinned to the wall. Nothing left to say. Just silence. Ryan stared at the floor for a long time before he finally said quietly, "You're doing well." "I'm doing what I've always done," I replied. "Working hard and building something." He nodded, fidgeting with his hands. "Could I?" He stopped himself, swallowed hard, and shook his head. "Never mind." "Could you what?" I asked, though I already had a feeling. He hesitated again, looking like he hated himself for what he was about to say. "Could I work here?" The words came out rushed, ashamed. I know it's insane to ask. I know I don't deserve it. But I need a job. And I'm actually pretty good at sales when I try. I could be a service advisor, bring in business. I didn't even have to think about it. "No." He nodded once, almost like he expected that. "Just thought I'd ask," he said quietly, turning toward the door. He had his hand on the handle when I spoke again. "Ryan." He turned back, waiting. "You want to know the worst part about all this?" I asked. He looked confused for a second, then wary. "What?" "It wasn't even the sex," I said. "It wasn't catching you with Claire. It was what you said after. That you blamed me for it. That you couldn't just admit you did something terrible and ask for forgiveness. You had to justify it. Make it my fault." He looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. "I know," he said softly. "I'm sorry." "Your apology doesn't fix anything," I said, my voice steady, colder than I felt. It doesn't give me back the 12 years I spent building something you destroyed in 6 months. It doesn't make me trust people again. It doesn't fix my relationship with Dad or make Mom stop crying. It doesn't undo any of this. It's just words. He nodded slowly, eyes shining but dry. You're right. I guess I just wanted you to know that I know how badly I screwed up. That I'm sorry even if it doesn't matter. It matters, I said quietly. Just not enough. He didn't say anything else. Just nodded again, opened the door and walked out. The sound of the door closing felt heavier than it should have. I sat there for a long time after he left, staring at the framed certificates on the wall, the business license with my name on it, the photos from our grand opening, the blueprint for our next shop. I thought about everything that had happened. The business I'd built and lost, then built again. The family that had chosen sides and would probably never be whole. The life I was supposed to have. The wedding, the house filled with laughter, the parents proud of both their sons instead of divided by them. All of it gone because of one betrayal and everything that came after. Was it worth it? Destroying everything to prove a point, to get revenge, to show them what I was capable of when they pushed me too far? Honestly, I still don't know. Love this story? Like, share, and subscribe for more epic audio adventures. Stay curious and keep listening.